My name is David Pizarro, and I'm a professor of psychology at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. In my lab, we're interested in one basic question: how people determine right and wrong, good and bad, how we arrive at moral judgments. Among the things that we're interested in particularly is how emotions influence these judgments of right and wrong, or good and bad. And one of the emotions that we've been focusing on in the last 10 years is the emotion of disgust. That is, that simple feeling of aversion to something that might contaminate you. So you can imagine the most basic version is you smell something or see something that makes you want to gag. You make this very typical face, you might stick out your tongue. And it turns out that there are differences in the degree to which people tend to experience this emotion. So some people, if I were to show them a picture, say, of a open wound, they would have a very strong reaction and almost turn away. And some people would have no problem with it. Well, it turns out that the strength of this response seems to be related to your judgments of what you think is right and wrong. And what groups you think are good or bad, and what actions you deem immoral or moral. And so, for instance, we've shown over and over again across countries in the world that people who experience a lot of disgust are actually more likely to find certain acts to be wrong, and they're especially likely to hold conservative moral beliefs, as opposed to liberal moral beliefs. Those people are the people who experience very little disgust. We're trying to look at the origins of this. That is, can we find the more basic differences that give rise to this disgust sensitivity? The word disgust itself betrays one possibility: the gustatory system. That is, some people taste things more than others. They have a stronger sense of taste and they might be more easily disgusted. So sure enough, if you test people on this by giving them a particular chemical that has a very, very bitter flavor, you can see that some people are very strongly react to this taste, and they almost have to spit it out of their mouth. And some people, it doesn't bother them at all. Differences in that, it turns out, predict differences in overall disgust sensitivity. That is, whether or not people will be strongly disgusted by an image of an open wound or of feces or anything like that. And in turn, it predicts their general moral notions, especially when it comes to social and political moral beliefs that are on the conservative or on the liberal side. So a basic biological difference that is evident from very early on in childhood might actually turn out to influence what we think of as very complex social and moral beliefs. And we think that this is adding to the puzzle to explain why there's so much difference in moral, social, political judgments.